The covenants of God. God knew that mankind would fall into sin and realized that they would not be able to live without His protection, provision, and goodwill. Therefore, God made agreements, covenants, or contracts with several people throughout history, and especially with one nation in particular. The first covenant God made with man was with Adam and Eve, just after they had sinned. God promised that out of Adam's descendants, someone would come to bruise or destroy the head of the serpent, the devil. And God killed an animal or animals to make coats of skin for them to cover their nakedness and shame. The second of these covenants that God made with mankind was the covenant of Noah. After Adam and Eve's fall, mankind became so wicked that God decided to destroy the world with a global flood. God saw that every imagination and thought of mankind's heart was only evil continually. But Noah found grace in God's sight, and God told Noah to build an ark. And then just before the flood, God ordered Noah and his family into the ark, along with at least a pair of each of the animals. In this way, God planned to repopulate the world after the flood. After the flood, the destruction of all living things on earth, God then made a covenant with Noah and all living things. He said He would never destroy the world with water again. The covenant was instituted with the sacrifices of animals. God said, "I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be for a sign of the covenant between me and the earth." God made His next covenant with Abraham. God chose Abraham and commanded him and his family to leave their country in the region of the Middle East about 4,000 years ago. God told Abraham that through his offspring, all nations of the earth would be blessed. God told Abraham that He would give him the promised land in the vicinity of present-day Israel as a lasting possession. And so God chose His people, who eventually became the Israelites and Jews, and made agreements with them and gave them promises over the course of the next 2,000 years. God told these people, the Jews, to serve Him as the true God in order for Him to bless them, which He did. Along with all these covenants, God always required the death of animals. The blood that was shed was necessary for the institution of the agreements, the covenants. The death of the animals made forgiveness of the Israelites' sins possible. Hebrews 9 verse 22 says, "Without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sins." These sacrifices, as we will later see, were only types and shadows of the real sacrifice that would take away the sins of the world. Other important covenants which God made were with Moses on Mount Sinai about 3,600 years ago, which we will discuss in day 4, and also made with David and Solomon, who were kings of the nation of Israel. The covenants God made with the human race and with the people of Israel had two sides. God committed Himself to His people and put His name on them, but they had to keep the agreements and contracts or covenants by obeying Him and living as His holy people. The covenant blessings of God could be cancelled by disobedience and rebellion by His people that would result in curses. Although God's covenant of redemption, His purpose of creation and mankind, would come to completion regardless of man's disobedience. God didn't leave the world to rot and decay, but He chose the nation of Israel and the Jews, of whom Abraham was the father, to reveal His nature, covenants, and care, with the purpose of eventually blessing all the nations of the world.